Hi there, I'm Margaret. For 30 years, I worked as an emergency room nurse. I've seen it all: cardiac arrests, traumatic injuries, overdoses, you name it. I was the one who knew exactly which medications to administer in crisis situations. The irony. Last year at age 68, I nearly ended up in my old ER after mixing up my own medications. Me, a retired nurse with decades of experience, made a mistake that could have cost me my life. And the scariest part, I didn't even realize what was happening until it was almost too late. That morning started like any other, but it turned into the wake-up call that changed everything about how I manage my medications. You know how they say even experts can make mistakes? Well, let me tell you, they're absolutely right. That Tuesday morning last September was nothing special. I woke up, made my coffee, and grabbed my weekly pill organizer. I'd been feeling a bit under the weather, just a mild cold, nothing serious. But I was tired, and I guess I wasn't paying attention the way I should have been. I had 7 daily medications at that point: blood pressure pills, cholesterol medication, a low-dose aspirin, calcium supplements, vitamin D, and a prescription for occasional anxiety. Plus, I'd recently been prescribed a short-term antibiotic for a minor infection. That's a lot to keep track of, even for someone who spent their career handling medications. That morning, I noticed I was running low on a few things, so I had some loose pills on my counter that I was planning to sort into my organizer later. Big mistake. In my morning fog, I grabbed what I thought was my blood pressure medication, but it was actually my anxiety medication. And instead of taking one, I took 2, thinking they were my calcium and vitamin D. Within about an hour, I started feeling off. My heart was racing, I felt dizzy, and there was this strange sensation in my chest. At first, I chalked it up to my cold, maybe even anxiety about not feeling well. But when I started having trouble focusing and felt like the room was spinning, a little voice in the back of my head, the nurse in me, whispered that something wasn't right. I stumbled to my bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. My pupils were dilated, and I was sweating profusely. That's when it hit me: these weren't cold symptoms or anxiety. These were medication side effects. I made my way back to the kitchen, my heart still pounding, and looked at the pills on my counter. And there it was, the moment of horrible clarity. The pills I'd taken looked similar in size and shape to my usual morning medications, but they weren't the same. Not even close. I'd accidentally taken a double dose of my anxiety medication, missed my blood pressure medicine entirely, and on top of that, I'd taken my antibiotic at the wrong time, which could interfere with absorption of my other medications. For someone who had spent 3 decades educating patients about medication safety, this was more than embarrassing, it was terrifying. Because I knew exactly what could happen with incorrect dosing and drug interactions. I'd seen patients come into the ER with these exact issues, and some of them didn't make it back out. My training kicked in, thank goodness. I called my doctor's office immediately and explained the situation. They connected me with the on-call physician who walked me through what to do. Based on what I'd taken, they advised me to monitor my symptoms closely and come in if certain warning signs appeared. I sat there with a notepad, writing down my vital signs every 15 minutes: pulse, blood pressure, any new symptoms. I drank plenty of water to help my system process the medication. And I waited, feeling foolish and frightened all at once. The next few hours were nerve-wracking. The symptoms didn't get worse, but they didn't improve quickly either. My blood pressure dropped lower than it should have, and the dizziness made it impossible to do anything but sit or lie down. I kept thinking about all the patients I'd treated over the years and how often I'd said, "You need to be careful with your medications." The irony wasn't lost on me. By evening, I was feeling better physically, but mentally. I was shaken to my core. How could I, of all people, make such a basic mistake? If this could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. Once I recovered from the immediate scare, I started thinking about how this happened. It wasn't just a simple mix-up. There were several factors at play, factors that I see affecting so many older adults managing multiple medications. First, there was the issue of similar-looking pills. My anxiety medication and blood pressure pills were both small, round, and white. The only difference was a tiny imprint code that's practically impossible to read without my reading glasses. Second, I was dealing with medication changes. That antibiotic was new to my routine, throwing off my usual rhythm and adding another pill to keep track of. Third, I was storing medications improperly, keeping some in the original bottles, some in my pill organizer, and some just sitting out on the counter waiting to be sorted. No wonder I got confused. And finally, this was hard to admit, I was experiencing some cognitive changes that come with aging. My memory wasn't quite what it used to be, and I sometimes found myself on autopilot, going through motions without fully focusing on the task at hand. These aren't unique problems. In fact, during my nursing career, I saw these exact issues lead to medication errors in patients of all ages and backgrounds. But I never thought I'd become one of those statistics. After my scare, I became obsessed with understanding medication errors and how to prevent them. I dove back into research like I was studying for nursing school all over again. What I learned was sobering. According to studies, adverse drug events, that's the clinical term for harm caused by medication, result in nearly 1.3 million emergency department visits each year in the United States alone. About 350,000 patients are hospitalized for further treatment after these events. And older adults were nearly 7 times more likely to be hospitalized after an adverse drug event than younger individuals. The most common causes of serious medication errors include taking the wrong medication, taking the wrong dose, mixing medications that interact badly together, not understanding proper administration instructions, confusing similar-looking or similar-sounding medications. Sound familiar? My error hit several of these categories at once. But here's what really got me. Up to 50% of these adverse drug events are preventable. Half of these emergency visits, these hospitalizations, these close calls like mine, they don't have to happen. That statistic lit a fire under me. If half of these dangerous situations could be avoided with proper medication management, then I needed to completely overhaul my system. And I needed to share what I learned with others. After my research, I developed what I now call my foolproof 5-step system for medication management. It's not complicated, in fact, simplicity is key, but it's thorough. Step 1, I created a complete medication list. And I mean complete. Every prescription, every over-the-counter drug, every supplement, every vitamin. For each one, I noted the name, the dosage, when and how to take it, what it's for who. Prescribed it and any special instructions. I keep one copy on my phone, one in my purse, one on my refrigerator, and one that goes to every doctor's appointment. Step 2, I implemented a pill identification system. I took clear, close-up photos of each of my medications next to their name and description. I also learned about the online pill identification tools available through the FDA and other reputable sources. Now, if I ever have any doubt about which pill is which, I have multiple ways to verify. Step 3, I invested in proper storage and organization tools. I bought a high-quality pill organizer with separate compartments for morning, noon, evening, and bedtime doses. Each day of the week is clearly marked, and the compartments are large enough for me to easily get pills out with my arthritic fingers. I also got a special medication travel case for when I'm away from home. Step 4, I established a medication routine with multiple safeguards. I set alarms on my phone for each dose time. I use a medication tracking app that lets me check off each dose as I take it. And I never ever put loose pills on my counter anymore. They either stay in their original containers or go directly into my pill organizer. Step 5, I scheduled regular medication reviews. Every 3 months, I meet with my pharmacist to go over my entire medication list. We discuss possible interactions, whether I still need each medication, and if there are any dosage adjustments that might be appropriate. This has been eye-opening. I've actually been able to eliminate 2 unnecessary medications through this process. This system has transformed how I manage my medications. I haven't had a single mix-up since implementing it. The peace of mind alone is worth the effort it took to set everything up. One of the most valuable lessons from my experience was learning how crucial communication is when it comes to medication safety. And I don't just mean between patients and healthcare providers, though that's certainly important. I'm talking about open communication with family members, caregivers, and even friends about your medications. After my scare, I sat down with my daughter and walked her through my entire medication regimen. She now has a copy of my medication list and understands what each pill is for. If something were to happen to me, she wouldn't be in the dark about what I'm taking. I also had an honest conversation with my doctor about the cognitive changes I was experiencing. Instead of being embarrassed about occasionally forgetting things, I brought it up directly. This led to a mini cognitive assessment, which showed that while I was experiencing normal age-related memory changes, there wasn't anything more serious going on. Still, my doctor adjusted some of my medication instructions to make them simpler and more foolproof. Perhaps most importantly, I started asking more questions at the pharmacy. For years, I declined the pharmacist consultation when picking up prescriptions. After all, I was a nurse. I thought I knew it all. But now I make a point of speaking with the pharmacist every time I get a new medication or refill. I ask about potential interactions with my existing medications, side effects to watch for, and the best time of day to take each one. These conversations have revealed important information I might have missed otherwise. For instance, I learned that one of my medications becomes less effective when taken with calcium supplements, something I'd been doing for years without realizing the impact. Now I know not everyone is comfortable with technology. At 68, I'm certainly not what you'd call tech-savvy. But I've discovered some incredibly helpful digital tools that even I can use to manage my medications more safely. Medication reminder apps have been game changers for me. I use one called Medisafe that not only reminds me when to take my pills, but also tracks when I've taken them and alerts me if I miss a dose. It even has a feature that can notify a family member if I haven't marked a dose as taken, a great safety net for those of us living alone. Pill identifier apps and websites have also proven invaluable. The FDA offers a free online pill identifier tool, and several apps can identify pills just by taking a photo of them. I've used these when traveling when a pill got separated from its bottle, and I wasn't sure which was which. Many pharmacies now offer apps that make it easy to refill prescriptions, set up medication reminders, and even chat with a pharmacist if you have questions. My pharmacy's app lets me scan the barcode on my prescription bottle to order refills, no typing required. For those with more complex medication needs, there are even smart pill dispensers that can be programmed to dispense the right medications at the right times, with alarms and notifications if doses are missed. These can be particularly helpful for people with memory issues or complicated medication. Schedules. I know technology isn't perfect, and it shouldn't replace human oversight completely. But these tools provide an extra layer of protection against errors like the one I made. And they're becoming more user-friendly all the time, even for those of us who didn't grow up with smartphones and computers. My experience changed how I view medication safety, not just for myself, but for everyone. I've become something of an advocate in my community, especially among my fellow seniors. I started a monthly medication management discussion group at our local senior center. We share tips, review new tools and technologies, and support each other in staying safe with our prescriptions. It's been eye-opening to hear how many of my peers have had similar close calls with their medications. I've also become more vocal during healthcare appointments, not just my own, but when accompanying friends to their doctors. I encourage everyone to ask 3 key questions about any new medication. 1. What is this medication for exactly? 2. How might it interact with my other medications? 3. What side effects should I watch for, and what should I do if I experience them? These simple questions have prevented potential problems numerous times. Last month, a friend was prescribed a medication that could have dangerously interacted with something she was already taking. Because she asked these questions, the doctor caught the potential interaction and prescribed an alternative medication instead. I've also started working with my former hospital to develop better discharge instructions related to medications. Too often, patients leave the hospital with new prescriptions, but little understanding of how to take them safely. We're creating easy-to-understand medication schedules and identification sheets that go home with patients, especially older adults managing multiple conditions. This advocacy work has given purpose to my scary experience. If sharing my story prevents even one person from going through what I did, it's worth any embarrassment I might feel in admitting my mistake. It's been just over a year since my medication mix-up, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on the experience and what it taught me. The biggest lesson: nobody, not even healthcare professionals, is immune to medication errors. Humility is important when it comes to managing your health. I had to admit that despite my background, I needed help and better systems to stay safe. I also learned that medication management isn't static. It needs to evolve as our health conditions, cognitive abilities, and medication regimens change. What worked for me at 50 doesn't necessarily work at 68, and what works now might need adjustment when I'm 75 or 80. Perhaps most importantly, I've come to see medication management as a team effort. My doctor, pharmacist, family members, and I all play important roles in keeping me safe. No single person holds all the responsibility or all the knowledge. Today, I feel more confident about my medication routine than I have in years. My system isn't perfect, but it's thoughtful and thorough. I know what I'm taking and why. I have multiple safeguards in place to prevent errors. And I'm not too proud to ask for help when I need it. That morning last September was terrifying, but it may have saved my life in the long run. Without that wake-up call, I might have continued with my haphazard approach to medication management until something much worse happened. So here we are at the end of my story, or rather, at the beginning of a new chapter where I approach my health and medications with the respect and attention they deserve. If you're managing medications for yourself or a loved one, I hope my experience serves as a gentle warning rather than a frightening cautionary tale. You don't have to wait for a close call to improve your medication management system. Start by gathering all your medications, yes, all of them, including over-the-counter products and supplements, and creating a complete list. Talk to your pharmacist about potential interactions. Invest in proper storage and organization tools. Set up reminders that work for your lifestyle. And most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions and admit when you need help. Medication safety isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about optimizing your health by ensuring you get the right medications in the right doses at the right times. If my story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Have you ever had a medication mix-up? What systems have you put in place to stay safe? Or do you have questions about medication management that I might be able to help with? And if you found this information valuable, please consider subscribing to Med Management Made Easy. We share practical tips, personal stories, and expert insights to help you navigate the complex world of medications with confidence. Remember, when it comes to your health, you are your own best advocate. Stay informed, stay organized, and stay safe. Thanks for listening to my story today. I truly believe it could happen to anyone, and I hope by sharing it, I've helped someone avoid going through what I did. Until next time, this is Margaret, reminding you that medication management doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be thoughtful, consistent, and designed with your specific needs in mind. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.